Let's knit a tank top. Hey guys, I am here in the living room. I wanted to do a different kind of video. I wanted to do a start to finish kind of behind the scenes of me knitting a project. I know I share a lot of projects with you guys through my podcast episodes, and those are very structured, very formal, and so I thought it'd be fun to sort of focus for this whole video on one knit project. From start to finish, you guys can see all of my process from casting on to casting off. I have a very exciting project to start. So my sister Jill texted me the other day asking for a knit tank top, which is really exciting because my sister has never asked me to knit her anything before. So I think it's really cool that she's interested in wearing or adding something to her wardrobe that is handmade by me. So I happily obliged. I said sure, asked her what she was interested in. She picked the Vegas top as her final choice, which I am super excited. It is a pattern by Susanne Müller, also known as Paula Strict. I've never knit it before. I have seen it before and liked it. It's always been in like the back of my mind as a potential knitting pattern for myself, but I'm really excited that I get to knit it for my sister. Let's look at the pattern details so we can be sure that I can actually knit it. It is a DK weight pattern on 4mm needles, comes in sizes extra small through 3XL, comes in English. All of that looks like a thumbs up from me. My sister is probably gonna be a size small or a size medium. She's around the same build as me. Let's look at the yarn. The yarn is Lamana Cosma, which I have never used nor heard of before. So this is a DK weight cotton modal blend, 60% cotton, 40% modal, 50-gram ball for $9 US, and you get, where's the yardage? Lots of words. Okay, am I missing the yardage? Oh, 100 meters. Wow, sorry, that was painful. So 100 meters per 50 grams. So 250 grams of this, which is 5 balls of the Lamana Cosma, 5 times 9. So it's gonna be about $45 US for the yarn alone. That's excluding shipping and if there's any taxes and such. Maybe more pricey than what I would want or what she would want. I am thinking of Sanascarn Line as a good substitute for this because I think it's a little bit cheaper, and Sanascarn Line is available in person at my local yarn store, so I don't have to pay for shipping, which is a plus. Okay, so I pulled up Sanascarn Line on my local yarn store's website, and it looks like they have a lot of colors in stock. And I know my sister wants either like a white or a light beige, and it looks like they have white, and they have sand, almond, beige, pearl gray. So it looks like they have a lot of neutral options that I think will work for my sister. All right, so I'm back. I got the yarn for the tank top. My local yarn store had some in stock, so over the weekend I went and got to see what they had for colors. They had a good selection, and I knew my sister wanted like a white or a beige color, so I pulled out the white, the putty, and then the light beige, and sent her a picture and asked her which one she preferred, and she liked the middle one, which is right here, and that is putty. So up close, you can see it's just a very like off-white, you know, has a little bit of beige, but it's not super yellow. From afar, I think it looks more white, but up close you can see the color variation there. I am ready to gauge swatch, so let's gauge swatch. So looking at the pattern now, the gauge says stockinette stitch in rows using 4mm needles, 19 stitches and 25 rows is gonna be a 4x4 inch square. So I got my 4mm needles ready to go, and I'm gonna make my gauge swatch. When I gauge swatch, I just do the suggested stitch count and row amount for the 4x4 inch square. So like this says 19 stitches per 4 inches, so I will just cast on 19 stitches. This is real life knitting. What you don't see in the podcast is the yarn barf from a center pole ball. But yeah, so I'm just gonna cast on 19 stitches and then knit 25 rows in stockinette stitch, and then I'm gonna soak it in some water and then hope that it stretches and pins out to a 4x4 inch square. Casting on, and I will get back to you guys when I finish the square. All right, gauge swatch is finished. Here she is. I need to block it. I feel like at first glance, I'm not sure if this is gonna make 4 by 4 inches. I feel like it might be a little tight, but let's go soak it in some water, pin it out on a board, and see how it actually measures. I like to squeeze out all the air bubbles, and then we'll just let that soak for like 15 minutes. All right, it's been well over 15 minutes, so let's go put this on the blocking board. You can see my blocking boards are very full today. All right, so I'm here on my blocking board, and I really like these because they have the grid lines that are marked at 1 inch for each square, so it's really easy to measure out for 4 inches. So I'm gonna grab my pins. And this is hard to do with one hand, and I have a poorly angled stand right now, so just give me a second, I'll pin it out and then show you guys how it looks. Okay, so right now I can see that the stitch gauge, I think it's good. So we have 4 whole inches here, and it is fitting quite well, like it's pinning out nicely without being too stretched. It does seem like the row gauge is definitely off because we cannot reach the 4-inch line up here without severely stretching this out. Like as soon as I see those rounded edges, I know that it's not really fitting. So I'm going to block out to the correct width, but not stretch it to meet the row gauge, because I'm gonna look at the pattern. Usually row gauge is a little bit less important than stitch gauge in my experience. So I'm gonna see if this pattern looks like it relies heavily on row count or if it's more like a measurement. Because if it is more of a measurement thing, then I can just knit more rows to meet the required measurement in the tank top. And even though my row gauge is off, I'll still get the correct measurements. So that's what I'm gonna do. So it looks like the length that it is blocking to is about 3¼ inches, which is not bad. That's only like a third, it's only 3/4 of an inch off. So I'm pretty sure that this needle size that I swatch with is good to go. I could consider increasing my needle size to hopefully get more row distance, but knowing also that this is a cotton yarn, which is going to grow over time, I am weary of going up a needle size, knowing that it's gonna stretch over time. So yeah, I'm gonna stick with the 4mm needles. Spoiler alert, I did not stick with the 4mm needles. Okay, so it's the next day and I decided to gauge swatch with the 4.5mm needles. I just wasn't really happy with the 4mm swatch. Especially after I took the pins out, this swatch from the 4mm needle was just like not hitting the 4 by 4 inches, and I am kind of concerned about how the rows aren't even close. So I gauge swatch with 4.5mm needles, and this is still a little bit wet and it is pinned, but it looks like it's gonna be a better fit for the gauge. So I'm actually gonna cast on with the 4.5mm needles. All right, so I just started knitting the back panel. This tank top is knit top down. You start with the back panel, so it's just a stockinette stitch rectangle. One thing to note is there is a provisional cast on, and the pattern suggests the crochet provisional cast on, which hopefully you can see. The waste yarn I'm using for the crochet chain is the same color as the actual yarn, but it is different. And a really helpful picture tutorial in the pattern for the provisional cast on. But yeah, basically I'm just doing a rectangle to start off with. Now, if you remember, my row gauge is different than what is stated in the pattern, and I'm already running into not issues, but just some things to work through, because this whole top portion, the row gauge is really going to affect the armhole depth, and I definitely don't want to have an armhole that's too small, definitely don't want to have an armhole that's too big. So I do have to do some calculations knowing my row gauge to make sure I'm getting the same desired length of fabric. So this stockinette rectangle, the pattern told me how many rows to do, but then it also told me the length that it should be once I'm finished with that number of rows. So I just had to recalculate with my gauge how many rows to do to get that desired length. So a little bit of math, nothing too crazy. I am just about to start the armhole shaping, so I will show you guys how that looks next. All right, so I just finished the back panel, at least up to the armhole increases, and I hope the lighting's okay. It's now nighttime. Most of my knitting happens at night in front of the TV, so I think a lot of this vlog might be in the dark, but I'll show you guys what I have. All right, so here is the panel all knit up. We got the nice increases. The fabric is looking and feeling great. It has that sort of like rustic cottony feel, which I kind of like. And yeah, I got the right stitch count with the increases. I have the right length as specified in the pattern. So my math checked out for, you know, adding in those rows to account for my row gauge being off. I don't know if anyone else's couches look like this, but I have knitting project number 1, 2, 3, and yeah, that's just a pretty normal state of my couch and living room. All right, I turned off the lamp so it's not like a big glowing orb behind me, but I just read ahead in the pattern. The next step is to break the yarn and put this on a stitch holder, and then I think we pick up for the front. Okay, yeah, so I'm gonna go do that. I will grab my barber cord, my scissors, and yeah, be right back. All right, I'm back. I got my tools. These are the knitting barber cords, which are the original of those like plastic hollow tubing that you can use to put your stitches on hold. I have the color blue. I do use these a lot. I do think they are overpriced. Like this pack, I think was $17 at my local yarn store. You get 3 cords, 2 short and 1 long. And $17 is a lot, but I do use these with every single project. Basically you just pop them on the needle tip and then slide the stitches on. I will say it's usually not a very clean experience. Like you do have to be paying close attention to what you're doing. You have to make sure that the tube has a really good grip on the needle. You can't just like rip all the stitches onto the barber cord or the cord will fall off with the stitches and then you can drop stitches. Oh my gosh, I literally just did it. I was not even trying. So sometimes I find them more frustrating than helpful, but despite the frustrations of like doing what I'm doing right now, it is still faster than using a tapestry needle in my opinion. But you just saw it firsthand how annoying they can be when they pop off the needle. I will say I use very slippery chrome plated metal needles. So I think that doesn't help because it's hard for the cord to have a good grip on the needle tip. But so I'll just very carefully put these on. All right, and then the last stitch. Ooh, made it. Okay. All these stitches are securely on the barber cord. Let me break the yarn. And looking at my pattern, okay, now we unzip the provisional cast on that I did earlier and placing these stitches onto a live needle. All right, and it looks like with these provisional stitches, we're gonna put some of them on hold and then work one of the front shoulders. So I'm gonna go get that ready. Okay, so I started undoing the provisional cast on. This here is my waist yarn, so I just am pulling out the crochet chain one at a time and then grabbing that stitch that comes out. It's very finicky, and honestly, I probably will stop filming because I need to focus on this and do it with my own eyes and not through the eyes of a camera. But that is pretty much what I'm doing here. All right, so it's a couple days later. I have finished the front 2 panels. So this is what's going on. This is definitely the most chaotic part of a top-down knitting pattern in my opinion, before you join everything in the round and everything is on stitch markers. But have the back panel here. These are like the fronts and it's sort of shaping the neckline. And I'm just about to join these 2 front panels together to make the neckline. So we're getting there. It's a nice Sunday afternoon and I have just the whole day to relax, knit, watch some knitting YouTube. So I'm excited to get some progress on this tank. I connected for the neckline, pretty standard backwards loop cast on. And this is what we're dealing with. I just read ahead in the pattern and I'm basically gonna be knitting the front part flat for a little bit while doing some armhole shaping and then join in the round. So it's starting to look like a tank top. If I hold it like this, that's what we're dealing with. So yeah, coming along. See you guys in a little bit. Front panel is finished and the next step is to join this all in the round, which is super exciting because it basically means all of the tough work of this top is pretty much over with. Okay, I hope you guys don't mind this camera angle. This is like the coffee table camera angle, which is most convenient for me right now. But I did join in the round, so we are in a good place. We are just gonna do some stockinette until we reach the length we want it. So all of the shaping, all the complexities are done with this tank, with the exception of all of the icord edges. But this is what it looks like so far, and I have it on a circumference needle that's definitely too small because all of my other cords are literally in use right now with my other projects. I'm definitely at like a whip or project maximum right now. I have so many things in the needles, so this smaller circumference circular needle will have to do, so it makes it look a lot smaller than it actually is, but this is the fabric up close. Very summery looking, very beachy looking. I feel like Line, the yarn, has like a beachy vibe. It just looks like it's meant for beachwear, which I think is cool. So, yeah. Hello, we are just about ready for a try on. I have knitted like a couple rounds after joining in the round, so I popped it on some barber cord, put on a tank top, and we're gonna try it on just to make sure everything is good to go before I continue. Now, for this tank top and knitting it for my sister, I definitely have a huge benefit where my sister and I are really similar sizes, so I can pretty much use my measurements and know that if it fits me, that it'll fit her. And I think if that wasn't the case, I don't know if I would have said yes to knitting her a tank top. I think if that was the case, I would definitely need her to send me like really precise measurements, maybe get a couple of her tank tops that she already owns and likes and ask her to measure some components so I can, you know, cross-check those. But since we're pretty similar, I'm just gonna sort of go off of my measurements and sort of use those as good checks. So just put it on and yeah, I mean, it definitely fits pretty well. This is definitely a tighter armhole than maybe I was expecting, which isn't necessarily a bad thing because I feel like a lot of summer knit tank tops, the armholes are too big and then you can like see the top of your bra, which people don't really like. But I mean, there's definitely breathing room there. And this is the back. I think it's pretty good. You know, that's like what we're dealing with, positive ease. The neckline I think looks nice. It's gonna sit pretty high. It'll obviously look more rounded and cleaned up once I add the icord edging, but I think it's good. I mean, it's definitely good enough. I'm not gonna undo it and redo it. I think if I couldn't get my arm through it, I would probably undo it, but this is looking pretty good, so I'm just gonna continue knitting. Hello, it's been a couple days. Let me show you guys how far I am on the tank top. I cannot get over how quickly this top is growing because I'm on 4.5mm needles. We have some nice chonky DK weight yarn, and I say chonky because I have been knitting fingering weight summer tops for this whole summer, including this Cumulus tee. So if it's not on 2.5mm needles, I am flying through it. So I actually joined the third ball of yarn earlier today and I've been knitting away on the body. I only have 5 balls for the whole tank top, so we are almost 3/5 of the way through the top, and my plan is once I finish this ball here to go ahead and do the icord details, the neckline, the armholes, and such. So I think I can get through this before the evening is over. I just got back from dinner, gonna change into my pajamas, put on some TV and Netflix, and just knit away. And I'll check in with you guys when I'm ready to go to the next step. Comfortable clothes are on, got the blanket on, settled into the corner of my couch. I got Netflix pulled up. I'm in the middle of Manifest right now. Actually, I'm kind of near the end. There's 4 seasons and I'm on season 4. And yeah, it's been a really exciting show. It is, I don't know how to describe it, kind of sci-fi, mystery, and action, but also some drama, family relationships. So it's been good. Been watching it with my husband Nick, and yeah, we're on the final season. Excited to see how the show wraps up and what happens with all the characters. But yeah, got my tank top here. I said earlier I didn't really have like a deadline for this tank top. You know, my sister didn't give me a deadline for it, but obviously I want to get it to her as fast as possible, and I am shocked at how quick this has been knitting up. Like, I know I just said that earlier, but like, I want to emphasize, like, wow, this is just flying by. And I think it might just be the comparison of the fingering weight yarn to the DK weight yarn. Like, this is such a larger gauge than what I've been knitting all summer, and just flying off the needles. And because it's a tank top, we don't have sleeves, and it's cropped, like, I think I'm gonna be done with this pretty soon. So I got really tired and was just about to put down the project for the evening without finishing that ball of yarn. I don't know, I just didn't feel like working on it anymore. But breaking news, my sister texted me and she got back to me with the length that she wants for the tank top. I suggested to her that she takes like a similar fitting tank top that she likes the cut of and measure like from the underarm down to let me know how long to knit it. So she just gave me that length and it's 8 inches apparently. So I might actually already be there. Let's grab a ruler and see what it looks like. I'm really hoping I don't have to undo, like frog back a few rows to make it the right length, but let's see. Oh no, oh no. It's upside down, but you it's like 8 3/4 of an inch. With that, I think it's time for bed. I'm gonna get to this tomorrow or maybe over the weekend. Definitely have to rip back a few rows and then I guess ready for the icord bind off so soon. Still shocked at how fast this is going, but not upset about it. Bye guys. All right, it's a new evening, same sweatshirt though. I am gonna frog back just a few rounds to get to that 8 inch length and then just head straight into the icord bind off. So yeah, it's gonna be a really cropped tank top. My sister, she's Gen Z. She's got that Gen Z style with the crop tops. So didn't know there was gonna be frogging content in this vlog. So if you enjoy frogging videos, here you go. I just put a little stitch marker where I want to frog back to. This also marks the beginning of the round, and it's only just a few rounds, so yeah, I'm just gonna start ripping it out. My plan is just to pop these back in the needles when I'm ready. I could have done the thing where you like thread the needle through all of the stitches on the row that you want to get back to prevent dropping any stitches, but I'm too lazy for that, so I'm just doing this and I'm just gonna put them back in the needle by hand, and if I drop any, I'll just use a crochet hook to get those back on. Back on the needles. I didn't have that hard of a time putting them back on the needles. It got a little bit dicey near the end of the round and some of my stitches are like mounted the wrong way, but I'll easily fix that as I knit the next row. So I'm just gonna go straight into the icord bind off. You actually have to do like a prep row with the smaller needle size just to get ready for it. So I'm going to swap out my needle tips, finish off one knit round, which I will also use as a way to make sure everything is remounted and you know, be really sure I didn't accidentally drop a stitch or like split a stitch when putting them back on the needles, and then head into the icord bind off. This has definitely been the fastest knitting project, knitting like garment I think I've ever done. I'm trying to think of other tank tops I've made. I've definitely made other knit tank tops, but they definitely didn't go this quickly. I think it was just because I wasn't as experienced of a knitter, maybe it wasn't as quick. So from the looks of it, I think I'm only gonna end up using 4 balls of yarn, not 5. So I'm gonna have a whole extra ball of yarn to either give away or use for another project. I feel like 50 grams of heavy DK, like light worsted weight cotton is kind of an awkward thing to have, but I'll figure out something. Just got to a stitch that's like, this is how I put it back in the needle. It's like very messy and split, and I think mounted wrong. So I think in general, I have not found this yarn to be splitty, which I know is a common problem with summer fibers. I feel like, I don't know if it's like the direction of the twist or the fibers, but really nice yarn, no splittiness really at all. And if there is like a split stitch, I find it super easy to like remount it the correct way. Whew, all right, I feel like that was a really long round, maybe because I was like focusing on fixing a lot of the stitches that got twisted or split. But ready for the icord bind off. I feel like I've been doing icord bind offs all summer long. So I feel like I have a good system down. I know how to do it without looking at the pattern, so. Okay, icord bind off is done. Let me just show you guys how it looks. It looks so crisp. I love icord bind offs. I feel like it just instantly like makes everything look nice and crisp and honestly kind of summery. I feel like icord bind offs are mostly used in summer designs, and it just reminds me of summer knits. So yeah, it looks pretty good. This is the beginning and end of round right there. I feel like the join looks pretty good. I follow a tutorial by Nitty Natty, her stretchy icord bind off tutorial. It goes through the stretchy icord bind off, which is not what I used in this pattern, but at the end of that video, she does a really good job explaining how to connect the two ends of the icord so you get a pretty clean looking seam. So it's kind of like a mattress stitch, and that's what I've been doing and really like that. So because I needed my tapestry needle for that. Oh, I feel like I have to sneeze. Because I have my tapestry needle in hand to finish off the icord, I just went ahead and started weaving in some of my ends. I do that a lot with most of my projects. If I am weaving in ends, I'll just do all of them at the same time, you know, get it over with when I have the momentum. So yeah, it's really coming together. I still, it's so cropped. I did not realize my sister wanted it this cropped. I even like called to confirm with her for like a 3rd time today. I was like, is this what you want? And she's like, yes. So she's not allowed to yell at me if she tries it on and it's too short. But yeah, I mean, now we just have neckline and armbands. So I'll just follow the pattern for that. I don't know if I'll film it. Maybe you'll just see it when it's done. You can really see some rowing out. And this has happened to me in a couple of projects recently with plant fibers. And I mean, it definitely is rowing out, but I think it stems more from the make one left and make one right increases that happen every other row at this neckline, rather than my purls and knits being different tensions. Because when you do a make one left or a make one right, you're like pulling the fabric from the other stitches and therefore making the stitches near it tighter. And I think that just gets exaggerated with yarns like this in cotton or linen. So yeah, I'm hoping it's not that noticeable from afar. And when it blocks out, maybe it'll look a little bit nicer. But you can see the same thing going on here, where I also have make one left or make one right increases. So hopefully my sister doesn't mind. She doesn't know what rowing out is. I think she'll think it's okay. Hello, it is once again a few days later and I'm super excited to show you guys that I finished the tank top. I finished the icord neckline, I finished both of the icord armbands and woven all the ends, so it's done. Very exciting. I do have to block it, so I'm gonna do a quick try on to show you guys what it looks like pre-blocking, show you guys kind of like the fit, the style, and I do want to show you guys something about the armhole because I already tried this on off camera and I wanted to put it on to show you guys what I'm thinking because I might not be done yet. But alright, I'll try it on. Alright, so I just put it on and I'm wearing some high-waisted shorts and gonna have to duck a little bit to show you guys what it looks like. But yeah, this is the final piece. Definitely cropped, but it definitely, like, you know, it fits well with the high-waisted shorts. It like just hits where it needs to, but you know, it is going to go up if you raise your arms. Probably a little bit cropped. If I was knitting this for myself, I probably would have added 1.5 inches to the length, but like I said before, this is exactly what my sister wanted. So, and now that I have it on and I'm like visualizing it with an outfit, I can totally see my sister wearing this type of cropped tank top. It's definitely her style, so I know that she'll be happy with the length. But I am a little bit concerned about the whole armhole situation. So for the applied icord, I did a 3 out of every 4 row pickup, which in my experience has been like, it's worked pretty well with a lot of other tops that I had to do apply icord for. So that's what I did, and I'll be honest, at that point I was not looking at the pattern. I don't know what the pattern prescribed, but I feel like it might be a little bit tight, so I can feel the tank top like on my arm, especially when my arm is like flat against my body and really like expanding that area to its like widest point. I feel just a little bit of tension on the fabric. It's not bad at all, it's not suffocating, but to make this the perfect fit, I feel like I might want to undo it to add more stitches to the icord, maybe pick up 4 out of every 5 rows, which would increase the rate from 75% to 80%. So it would just increase a little bit, but I think would give a little bit more breathing room with the underarm. However, this is not blocked. So let's block it first because we all know how blocking grows fabrics, especially with plant-based fabrics like this. So I'm gonna get my wash in water and block this tank top with you guys. We are in the bathroom to block the tank top. I have this Sorella wool wash. This is the flavor Sweater Weather. It's from the Autumn in New York collection. It's the first Sorella wool wash I purchased, and I will definitely be buying more because it smells so good. I think this is supposed to be like a fall kind of like spice scent, and everything I use it on, it just like every time I wear that piece, I'm like, wow, this smells so good. It's very like apple-y. There's definitely some cinnamon in there. So I'm just gonna put a dollop of this in my bowl, get the water going, and then give this tank top a good soak. So there's the wool wash, and then we're just gonna fill this with water. Because this yarn, I think, is technically machine washable, I'm not gonna do like ice cold water. I'll probably do like lukewarm water to help soften the fibers and make sure it's nice and clean and well washed. Alright, I'll just let that soak for about 15 to 30 minutes and then I will wring it out and then put it on my blocking boards. So it's been half an hour, this has been soaking, and I'm just giving it like a gentle squeeze to get as much water out as I can with my hands. And then after that, I take a towel. I have like a few older towels that I use exclusively for blocking, and I will sort of roll it up in like a towel burrito and then step on it to really get out all of the extra water. been stitched on. You can see all of the extra water that came out. And then we will put this on the blocking boards. Okay, so I pinned this all out. Usually when I pin my tops to block, I really focus on making sure that the bottom hem is in a straight line, and I also make sure that all of these vertical stitches are aligned and not sort of like twisted. The grid lines on the blocking boards really help, and we will just let this dry. Might be a day or two before I can try it on again and see how it fits. It's been a couple days, I guess 2 days to be exact, and I think it is dry. Feeling the back of it, yeah, I think it's ready to try on. I did also use the blocking water to wash one of my other shirts because it was getting stinky, so killing two birds with one stone. So I'll just take out these pins and we will give it a try on. I'm mostly going to be checking for the armholes. As expected, it does smell very good because of the wool wash. Here it is all blocked. It definitely looks a lot nicer as expected. And I think the armholes opened up enough where I'm not going to want to redo them. I think if I were to redo this pattern again, maybe for myself, I would definitely still increase the amount of stitches that I did for this I-cord edge, but this one I think is good enough where I'm not going to undo it and redo it. So I think this might just wrap up the project. Pretty cool. Let me show you guys the back. I feel like I am not the best at showing or taking photos of the backs of my knit projects, and lately when I've been picking future patterns to knit, I've been wanting to see pictures of the back construction of a top or a sweater. So because I know that I want that when I look at either pattern photos or project photos, I'm trying to make a conscious effort to do the same. So here's the back. All right, all the ends are woven in, so I'm ready to ship this off. I'm gonna bring this to the post office in the afternoon. I have my little mailer ready to go, and yeah, I'm trying to think if I have any final thoughts on the project before I send it off, and not really much that I haven't already said in the course of this video and in this vlog. I am really impressed with the result. This fabric blocks beautifully, like the yarn. I feel like it looks worse when you knit it, but when you block it, it just looks so crisp and professional and clean. I really like the texture of Line. It feels kind of like beachy to me. It definitely has that like cotton content that I like. It has that depth of color and just the slightest bit of sheen. So yeah, I'm gonna pack this up and mail it out.
Hi everyone, I'm Jill, Amy's little sister, and also the recipient of this wonderful tank top that she has been showing you how to knit in today's video. So this is the full tank top. I'll show you the front and the back. So I got this in the mail a few days ago from Amy, and I have been wearing it literally 2 days in a row, which is kind of embarrassing, but I love it that much. So fun fact about me is I live in DC, which is also known as the swamp down here because it's so humid. And one thing I was really worried about when I asked Amy to knit me a tank top in the middle of August down here is that it would be really hot and uncomfortable in the middle of summer. However, this is the complete opposite of what I was worried about. This tank top is so breathable, it is so lightweight and comfortable. I absolutely love it. I also gave Amy a loose idea about where the fit should be for this. So it should be above the belly button, it should be below. This is above the belly button, which I think is perfect too, because I mainly wear high-waisted jeans or shorts, so I can style it with pants, with shorts, even with like a little high-waisted skirt. It's super cute, can be styled in the summer or even in the fall with like a long pair of jeans or something. So this is awesome. It's really comfortable, really cute, and it fits well. So thank you so much, Amy, for knitting me this. I absolutely love it. And I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. Thanks, bye.